In this task, you have to read the questions in advance, then listen to the audio. These are the questions you have to find answers for. Please play the audio only once.
The best part of being a veterinarian is when you get to send a patient home. And I don't mean the ones that come in for a spay or a neuter or a vaccine. I mean the ones that are carried in. The ones that don't respond when they are taken from safe and loving arms of their family by a stranger. I mean the ones that when you see them, you are not confident that you're going to be able to fix that patient and send them home. I am an emergency veterinarian. That means good news doesn't come see me. I perform euthanasia daily, and sometimes multiple times a day. Euthanasia is a kindness we are afforded in veterinary medicine. The word literally means good death. If it is a kindness, why doesn't it always feel like one? It doesn't feel like one because it is a kindness that comes with an emotional cost. There are emotional fees to making that decision. One of the most common fees that I see is the hindsight fee, where after the fact, people look back and say, did I do the right thing? The answer is yes, you did the right thing because you put your pet's needs for peace above your own needs to hold on. A similar fee that I see is the crystal ball fee, where people look back at a hospitalization or a surgery that they had authorized that didn't have the hoped for outcome. And then they beat themselves up and they lament that decision. And they say, I shouldn't have put him through that. What a treatment failure means. What it really means is that you know in your heart, you know to your core that you did every single thing you could for someone you loved. And sometimes injuries are too severe to overcome and little bodies wear out. And if you had had a crystal ball and could have foreseen the outcome, would you have made a different decision? Yeah, of course you would have. But nobody has a crystal ball. You made the best decision you could at the time with the information you had. And nobody can do more than that for someone they love. I learned firsthand that these emotional fees cannot be separated from euthanasia when I had to send my own dog to heaven last year. Cooper was my 15-year-old beagle. He would leave a trail of carnage as he trampled the chihuahuas to be the first one in the kitchen for bacon. And he had always been like that until one day he wasn't. And I knew something was wrong. So I took him to the hospital and we did the ultrasound. And there on the screen, in black and white, I could see everything I didn't want to find. There was cancer everywhere. Surgery wasn't an option. And he was so far gone, chemo wouldn't have been fair. So my choice was pretty clear. So I told him goodbye. And my amazing technicians made him a sundae. McDonald's cheeseburger, vanilla ice cream, chocolate syrup, bacon bits, and a Snicker bar. So they brought it to him, and his eyes lit up. And even as sick as he was, he savored every bite, and he was eating the Snicker bar, looking at me like, did you know this was a thing? So I told him goodbye, and I sent him softly to heaven with breath that smelled like chocolate and bacon. And I thought that was the end. But for 3 days, this little voice in my head kept saying, are you sure you made the right decision? Are you sure you did the right thing? And it drove me crazy because it went against every single thing I knew. I didn't need a crystal ball. I had done the ultrasound. I had seen everything right there in black and white, and my mind accepted it. And that was when I realized it wasn't my mind asking the question. It was my heart. Because it wasn't ready to let go. And it wasn't ready to say goodbye. And it did the only thing it could, and that was question. And that was when I had to recognize that this time I wasn't just the doctor. I was the family. And I had to sit down and I had to tell myself, yes, it was the hardest decision, but it was also the kindest decision. Grief is the natural price we pay for loving. It is always worth loving, but the grief is hard. The hindsight fee, the crystal ball fee, the betrayal fee can't be separated from euthanasia. And what they mean is that you are normal and you are grieving, not that you made a mistake. Those are the fees that the family pays. But euthanasia takes a toll on the doctor and the staff as well. Unfortunately, the suicide rate of veterinarians is about twice the national average. I do cry, and sometimes I cry a lot. But it is better to cry, to shed some tears and spend that grief currency than holding on to it and stuffing it down inside me like a deposit and pretend it wasn't really hard. My grief vault is intentionally kept empty. One night, a woman brought in a gigantic dog to me for euthanasia. He had very advanced cancer, and there was just nothing more to do. He was in pain. And she told me that the night that she adopted him from the shelter, he had saved her life. So here I was again, being tasked with sending a bona fide canine hero to heaven. And that was when it came to me that if I was going to send lives lived with this much purity and this much sincerity and love, I had better live my life up to their standards. So that's when I decided I'm gonna live my life like a dog. I don't just tell people that I love them, I show them that I love them. And when I go to the beach, I chase the waves. And whether it is offered to me as a gesture of affection or as a reward for a job well done, I never, ever refuse a cookie.